The Tower of London, one of the most famous towers out there, next to the Sears Tower and the Leaning Tower of Pisa. A place where tourists go to gawk at history, uncomfortably large and bold ravens, and ask the timeless question, why are the guards called beefeaters? But enough jokes. This iconic site is no laughing matter. The tower is best known for its blood-soaked history as the site of hundreds of imprisonments and executions over the years, as well as a fair share of murders. 3 queens, Anne Boleyn, Jane Grey, and Catherine Howard lost their heads there. Edward V and Richard, Duke of York, were found murdered there, still only children when they died. King Henry VI was killed during his prayers in his private chapel. The list goes on, and the blood continues to flow. It is no surprise that many consider the Tower of London to be among the most haunted places in the world. Few locals have seen such an intense concentration of violent, tragic death and misery. There are reports of Queen Anne Boleyn wandering the halls with her severed head tucked under her arm, the little murdered princes frolicking through the corridors in the dead of night, and the Countess of Salisbury reenacting her horrific execution, in which she was hacked to death as she fled. If you're at all enthused in British royal history, you may know about all these people and their grisly ends already. But what you may not know about is a formerly imprisoned man known as the Wizard Earl. Henry Percy, 9th Earl of Northumberland, also known as Wizard Earl due to his involvement in the occult, was imprisoned in the Tower of London in the late 1590s. Though he was a prisoner, he lived a relatively comfortable life and was allowed to continue his research and build a small library of books and other academic materials in his room. He died in November of 1632, and the secrets of his research died with him. That is, until Martin Tower was being renovated hundreds of years later. During the process of renovations to the Martin Tower, a hidden chamber was discovered beneath the tower's structure. It did not appear on any official blueprints of the building. The chamber contained scattered notes and papers and a sturdy iron door. Despite several attempts, the door could not be opened by any ordinary means. Further investigation of the papers found in the chamber revealed that they were research notes penned by Henry Percy, who is thought to have created the chamber and the door within it. The notes were unusual and ominous, hinting at a sense of otherworldly danger. A particularly unsettling note was an unsent letter from Henry Percy to famed playwright Christopher Marlowe. In the letter, Percy apologizes to Marlowe for refusing to accept his warning about building the Janus Gate, a significant term as Janus is the Roman deity that represents buildings, transitions, and passageways. The letter also references a cursed play, most likely The Hanged King's Tragedy, or SCP-701, which Percy begs Marlowe to destroy. He ends the letter by saying that he has sealed the gate, permitting only the enlightened to enter it so that they might perhaps see what Percy could not. The letter concludes, "Damn that metropolis of blood, that terrible realm and its ancient countless crimes. Consign thy play to the fire, deny thy vile patron, and anoint thee from this madness. We would fain welcome thee back into the night." More troubling, perhaps, than the contents of the letter itself is the date it was to be sent, May 30th, 1593, the day before Marlowe was murdered. Suspecting the presence of an anomalous artifact the Janus Gate referenced in Percy's notes and letters, the Crown hurriedly contacted the SCP Foundation and requested they perform a thorough investigation. What they found was unlike anything the Foundation has ever encountered, before or since. Henry Percy was speaking truthfully in his letter. He did seal off the door in his secret chamber. The only way to open it is to complete a series of alchemical instructions, similar to those used in the creation of a philosopher's stone. A resident alchemy expert at the Foundation assisted in finding the solution, and for better or for worse, the Janus Gate was unlocked for observation. Beyond the gate lies a city known as SCP-2264 B. The city is extradimensional, matching no known location on Earth or anywhere else. Upon entering the city, the smell of dried flowers and old books greets you. You glance up at the sky to find it an eerie yellow, spotted with infinite glittering black stars. If you look down at yourself, you will find that your clothes have disappeared. replaced with attire that would not be out of place at a masquerade ball. Your face is adorned with a Venetian mask that you cannot remove, no matter how hard you try, until you have left this strange world and passed back through the gate. If you pause to take in the sights of the city around you, you will find buildings carved from one single undetermined material, all in black, white, yellow, or red. These are the only colors present in the city. In the distance, a viscous black ocean laps at the shore on all sides. Though the ominous black liquid in said ocean is anything but water, the city, though it has been proven to exist in a corporeal state, has the quality of a lucid dream. Operatives inside of it report difficulty concentrating, citing a feeling of hypnagogic malaise, inability to control their impulses, and trouble describing what they saw and did inside of the city once they have returned to the regular world. The dimension seems to run on dream logic, best described in the movie Inception. Not everything makes sense, and transitions between place and time seem muddy, to say the least. After several expeditions that failed to return conclusive, coherent observations about the city's nature, another exploration was planned. Chosen for his experience with altered states, mainly lucid dreaming and hallucinogenic drugs, Dr. Calixto Neves was selected to lead this exploration. Upon entering SCP-2264 B for his first exploration, most of Dr. Neves' colleagues split off from him to join in the decadent celebrations in the palace. He resisted this temptation, though of course he considered it for a moment, and continued on with his investigation of the city. He made several significant discoveries over the course of this first expedition, which informed the Foundation's perspective on the city going forward. First, he realized that the city somehow universally translates language. No matter what a person's native tongue is, they will hear the inhabitants of the city speaking in it. Some of Dr. Neves' colleagues heard the citizens speaking English, while he heard them speaking in his native Spanish. It is unclear how this instantaneous translation is accomplished. Second, he learned the name of the city, Alagadda, a city-state bordering something referred to only as the Neverment. To provide a little context and clarification, the city of Alagadda is a nexus point for a whole multiverse of hedonists. Countless entities from every conceivable dimension turn up here to sample its legendary pleasures. Think of it almost like a multidimensional Cancun during spring break. He was given this information by a foreign scholar known as the Wandsman of Kulmanas, a robed creature in a bird-like mask. The Wandsman was also able to provide some insight into the political power structure of Alagadda, providing Dr. Neves with his third piece of critical new information. The city is overseen by four masked lords: the Black Lord, wearer of the Anguished Mask; the White Lord, wearer of the Diligent Mask; the Yellow Lord, wearer of the Odious Mask; and the Red Lord, wearer of the Mirthful Mask. These powerful entities act as advisors to the city's mighty king, who many of the travelers in the city sought a favor from. The Wandsman warned about each of these lords, stating that in spite of their different names, they are all equally dangerous. They also warned against interacting with the ambassador of Alagadda. After this illuminating conversation, Dr. Neves gathered the rest of his colleagues and returned to the real world. On his second expedition into Alagadda, Dr. Neves immediately sought out the Wandsman of Kulmanas. The Wandsman expressed concern for Dr. Neves and his team, warning them, "The ambassador of Alagadda will soon return from Ariantum, and only the mad shall remain. I suggest you leave post-haste, for I intend the same." When pressed on the subject of Aritium, the Wandsman explained that it is a terrible city filled with equally terrible people. It is said that the Grand Karsis of Ariatum serves the designs of an elder being, a horror thought to rival even the Hanged King of Alagadda. Before Dr. Neves could gather any more answers, the Wandsman stopped, becoming clearly frightened, and said, "I sense the ambassador of Alagadda has returned. I take my leave of this place, and I suggest you do the same. Flee, do not delay." The Wandsman promptly exited through the nearest door. Following Dr. Neves' expeditions, the Foundation appointed a task force of agents trained in hand-to-hand combat and counter-occult strategies to go back into Alagadda. The task force, nicknamed the Abyss Gazers, was to seek out the king and ambassador of Alagadda and determine the level of threat they might pose to humanity. 12 agents were sent in, and only one Agent Alexander Papadopoulos came back alive. The other 11 are presumed dead or lost forever. Agent Papadopoulos was found unconscious and in critical condition outside of the entrance to Alagadda. A physical exam was conducted, revealing broken bones throughout his entire body, as well as severe internal bleeding. He was in the hospital for 3 weeks before the Foundation determined him healthy enough for an interview. The interview was conducted by Dr. Laxmi Narang and allowed the Foundation to get a sense of what Agent Papadopoulos witnessed inside the city and what happened to the other 11 team members. The team managed to locate the palace, struggling with the dreamlike effect of the city on the mind and the lack of ability to determine how much time had passed while they were there. As the group descended deeper into the palace, it became more convoluted and labyrinthine. They spent most of their time descending a staircase, traveling deeper and deeper. When they reached the bottom of the staircase, suddenly they were outside of the palace again, as if they never went inside. Except everything was a little bit different, wrong somehow. The whole world looked dark and drained of color, bathed in hazy gray light. There were no people to be seen, and the buildings looked run down and abandoned. They walked back into the palace from this strange new location and began to hear whispering, not just in their ears, but in their very minds. The ambassador of Alagadda had found them. It appeared before them, a tall, thin, dark figure, with no face, no mouth, no eyes. Somehow it spoke, in a language none of the team could understand, and it laughed. As it watched, unable to control themselves, the team began to tear each other apart. Flesh ripped, organs collapsed, bones shattered, and none of them could stop themselves until Agent Papadopoulos was the only one left alive. He was not left alive by mistake. The ambassador left him living in order to pass on the message of its existence. It dragged his limp body into the chambers of the king and forced him to look upon its twisted form. His exact terrifying words of the account paint a gruesome picture. Eventually, we stopped, and it lifted me into the air, held me up before the throne. There I saw the king. It was anchored in place, hollowed bonds around its corpse-like hands and throat, its face hidden beneath a veil. Impish creatures crawled all over it, caressing its twitching body as if intending comfort, while others pulled the tethers even tighter. The king trembled and quivered, and I saw the pale tendrils slither in and out of its tattered robes. I looked on as the veil was lifted. At this point in this interview, the agent became inconsolable. He begged to be killed, a request which was denied. Before the interview ended, the agent said, "A god-shaped hole, the barren desolation of a fallen and failed creation. You see the light of long-dead stars. Your existence is nothing but an echo of a dying god's screams. The unseen converges, surrounds you, and tightens like a noose." After the interview, Agent Papadopoulos refused food and water and repeatedly requested to be terminated. This request was denied every time, and he was given a feeding tube for nutrients. After the revelations in the Papadopoulos interview, the Foundation suspended all research expeditions into Alagadda. It is difficult to hide SCP-2264 from the public due to the public nature of the building the gateway is located in. Because the Tower of London cannot be shut off to the public, the Foundation has focused on hiding the gateway from anyone who might accidentally stumble upon it. The government of the United Kingdom and the Foundation worked together to build a secret passage to SCP-2264, accessible only to authorized personnel. The original entrance has been walled off. Meanwhile, beyond the gate, Alagadda continues in its strange, twisted ways. We do not know what the ambassador wants, or the nature of the other beings lurking within the city walls, but we can only hope that they never find their way through the gate to us. Now go check out SCP-261 Pan-Dimensional Vending Machine and SCP-001 The Spiral Path for more extra-dimensional oddities.